Well,
I believe you're an independent woman.
that's right.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
It's early.
It's a day 2 at PAX.
All right, I will accept your greetings because my voice is also trying to go, and we have an hour. Good morning. I am your moderator, Tanya, also known as Cypher Online. We're going to all introduce ourselves. We have minimal slides because I don't believe in talking at people. Also, if you have a day job and you have to deal with slides, I don't want to remind you of your day job right now. So, we're going to just go down the line, introduce ourselves, and then a little housekeeping, and then we've got some points to go through, and we will have we will have time for Q&A. And we will also make sure to say Q&A. Q is for question, not comment, not backstory, because I will just be blunt and tell you I do not care. I would invite you to have a salient, precise comment. And if you have something that you think will be a whole novel, find us after the panel. All right, Eugenio.
Hi, everybody. I'm on top of you, Tanya.
Hi.
I'm Eugenio Vargas. I'm DM Jazzy Hands on the internet. I am the digital media specialist for Take This, the first mental health and games charity. We run the AFK room over on the other side of the convention center. We also have a booth outside of Brandland, the Hope booth. Come see us all weekend long. I'll be there tomorrow. And I think that's all you need to know about me right now.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, everybody. My name is Omega Jones, also known as Cripart across all social media channels. My pronouns are he and they. I'm a professional actor and vocalist from the Midwest, turned tabletop designer, gamer, host, moderator, jack of all trades, master of like 3 of them. I'm one of the founding members of Oops All Himbos, a positively chaotic group trying to do some good in this space, and many other things. Yeah, very excited to be here to talk about some hard truths.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Quincy of Quincy's Tavern. I make fantasy content online, specifically more geared towards mental health, accessible cooking, and just overall cozy fantasy vibes. Let me be your fantasy bartender. I'm very excited to be here today, talking on a really important topic, but one that's I think we could all learn from and all grow with, and have a very honest, open conversation with it. So very happy to be here.
Hi, I'm Lamia. My pronouns are they, them. And I am a licensed clinical social worker, trauma therapist, death doula, writer, consultant. I do lots of things. You can find me at the intersection as the coordinator this weekend, and you can find me at some other panels today. So that's gonna be me.
Hi, I am Brian, aka Urban Bohemian, pretty much everywhere on the internet. I am a TTRPG player, performer, mostly Twitch streamer, and all-around internet nerd. That's pretty much it.
And I, your moderator, Cypher. I do a lot of things online. I yell about diversity and inclusion on the internet, despite people not liking that. I don't care. Also, tabletop and video game developer. Pronouns are she, they, and what? We're gonna do it. For those of you that come to PAX frequently, we did this panel 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and we have some of the same panelists, we have some new panelists, and let's get into our, oh, come on. Nope, it said no.
The laptop is tired too.
There we go. Housekeeping. Anyone who follows me online should not be surprised by this slide. Also because when I've done this panel or a similar panel, there's always someone who wants to come up either during Q&A or after and talk about how guilty they are about the one time they played a black elf and they don't know what to do. I do not care. None of us care. And this is not the place. Go take that to whatever temple or house of worship you need to. Look, y'all let me be here at 11 a.m. to start the day and get what you get. It's also, and I'm sure we will get into this, it is not the place to ask for permission to play outside your race, gender, ethnicity, what have you, because we cannot give you permission. We are not going to be at your table. We're not going to be in your stream chats. We cannot give you that permission. You need to understand that. Because again, this happens often at these kind of panels. And again, when we have Q&A, have a question. So if you do not have a question, I will ask you to go find one. You all laugh. Ask me if I've done it. So because I believe in moderation and moderation well for these panels, we do not want to waste what precious Q&A time we have with your backstory. Go write that on a character sheet.
Screaming.
All right, I've talked enough, and we have bullet points to get through before we open for Q&A. So, starting with the first bullet point, what are our thoughts we'll have on using social media appropriately? Because it was something we had to kind of go back and clarify amongst ourselves before this panel. But once we start talking, I think you'll get what we mean. So I'm gonna stop talking because I'm the moderator. Someone go first.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
So, social media is a huge double-edged sword for a lot of reasons. And a lot of times folks will be like, of course I'm inclusive. I follow Cypher of Tyr and Urban Bohemian and Critical Bard. Like, I can't be racist. All plays,
Is that it?
all white tables, has never asked a person of color to play at their table, would not know what inclusion is if it smacked them in the face, but absolutely will use profiles, use follows, or what have you to mask, or I won't even say mask because neurodivergence, but to obfuscate. And and especially with the age of blue and black sky, like, starter packs are great. That's like half a first step. If you want to use social media appropriately when you're talking about furthering inclusion and doing better, like actually doing better, then that should be the like, okay, do the deep dive, look at like, what does this person do? What is their vibe? Is that the vibe I'm looking for my game, right? Like, I do lots of different kinds of games, but my kind of bread and butter of what I like is like horror. I like playing horror, I like PvP, I like romance, I like these things. If you are wanting to do a streamed Wanderhome game, I am probably not your boy. Use social media to do your research. And then when you're asking people, don't just be like, I need black and brown people. They're like, Pokemon, I need to catch one. Let's go. No, fam. No. Like, look at who fits and then tell us why you want us to be in your game. Like, use it as actual recruitment. Show us that you are not just playing Pokemon with people of color.
Yeah, I think it's very easy. We've had the threads on, X, formerly known as Twitter, whatever, about why, who is out there, who are the people of color playing TTRPGs, and you would see a lot of us like weighing in on those threads. So, a way of using social media appropriately is a lot of like players of color and marginalized players. They all use the exact same TTRPG hashtags that everybody else does. If you are looking for people who are interested in playing, it is really easy to find them. And as mentioned with Blue and Black Sky now, we have starter packs. So a lot of people have put TTRPG, players, performers, GMs, professionals on packs. It is a lot easier to find them. And when you do see something announced, you see yet another game or podcast or something announced, and you do see that the cast miraculously appears to be all white, you think like you didn't try. Maybe you follow a lot of performers of color, but did you actually invite them? Was it a fair consideration when you had perhaps a number of people applying? But it is very easy to find people who are all interested in playing and performing TTRPGs now.
I love kind of just the idea of, just jumping on that really quickly. We all have the access and tool of social media. I mean, it's at our fingertips. Everyone that we know knows somebody else, and it's always that 3 people away from somebody. So if you have someone you want to know or someone you want to work with, you can just ask the question. I think one of the best things is ask a question, but be willing for any answer. And going off of that, when building a table, how I like to look at it is look at a regular any type of your favorite type of media when it comes to the composition of a party or an adventuring party. You got dwarves, elves, orcs, goblins, you got your favorite. When we're playing a game that's a community-based game, bring the community into your game. Make your table as diverse as the characters that you have in that party. And that is a great way to not only show that you represent not just the diversity and nuance that's in your story, but also that happens in real life in 3D, that we interact on a day-to-day basis. That's a really great way to kind of like look at what you're doing and not check marking off a list, because we're not up here to be like, you have to have this criteria to be in it, but look at it from a director's standpoint, or even just a good storyteller or someone who likes to receive good stories. And it comes from a different variation of storytellers. So my biggest thing is like when we're playing a community game, get the community involved, and the community is so colorful and diverse, and make sure that that entire circle is there to fill it.
There's also a level of like, coming from the theatrical space, something that's very important to me, especially when I look at like the next generation coming up and I'm trying to like instill like a little bit of tidbits, is like everything you do is technically an audition. Everything you do, someone's watching. So when it comes to social media, how do you curate your social media space? Who do you follow? Who do you interact with? What do you put forth? What do you retweet? What do you post? All these things. Not to be like policing what you're doing, but if I see you're only interacting with white people and then you do a casting call, guess what? I don't think you're actually going to do anything with us, right? If you're only interacting with a certain type of individual out there, if you're only interacting with when you share art and it happens to be the white elf all the time, 24/7, how can you expect me to trust that you actually want to do what you're claiming you want to do when you do these casting calls, when you have these calls for diversity and all this stuff? So like, think about what you're putting forth first and foremost, because I guarantee you, everyone is watching. Whenever something is announced, I guarantee you I've looked at it and I've gone, noted. All right, moving on, because I can't trust that, right? And it's also like, yes, I understand that technically people of no color are the dominant cast of this world, right? So I get that it's very easy to find people, other white people out there. But again, in 2025, on Beyonce's internet, like, there's no reason for you not to know people of color, to see people of color, to have people in your periphery. So it's like really discouraging each time I look out and I see like a group of TTRPG friends and I'm like, oh, okay, there's maybe a person of color there. I have to really squint to figure it out. It's not belittling them or denying that they are, someone who's not white, but still, if you're only surrounding yourself with people who look like you, it shows and we see it. So think about that.
I mean, I want to make sure that we have time to move on. So all of that, of course. The only thing I'll add is, you all know what social media is like, right? There are better places than others, but it's all a little tough. And so when you're using it either to put out a call or to get in touch with someone or just to post your own things, like CB was saying, remember that as difficult as it feels perhaps for any of you out there who are cis white men, right? It is that much more difficult for non-dudes, for non-white people, for disabled folks. So just know that, like Quincy said, ask the questions, but recognize that like it's tough out there for all of us, right? So if we don't get right back to you, if the answer is not exactly what you were hoping to hear, let that be a step in the process, not the end of the process, right? Social media, let's not say that one, sucks. Right, I won't use it there. Social media sucks, right, for everybody. And so, yes, it is very important. Yes, we use it as a tool. But remember, like, it's tough out there. Try, and we will try. And somewhere in the middle, we will find a place where social media hasn't beaten us down enough and we can work together.
Mm-hmm. I kind of jump in quickly on that, but like when you invite someone and they don't get right back to you, don't use that as like, oh, I tried once and stop. Yeah. I get people inviting me to their tables or things like that, and genuinely for me, life is life, and I do a 25/8, and sometimes you just don't have time to really respond back to it, or even just commit to a 4-hour one-shot or campaign. It's hard, but I will say I will always appreciate the invite. It's always wonderful to be considered. It's always wonderful to be, you have a space at my table. You might not be able to be available, but if you want to fill it, you can fill it. and just always have that out there. And it's just, that means a lot, because what that does is I go to that person in return or in response, be like, hey, I also have a space available. Would you like to be part of my story as well? And it goes back and forth. It's just a wonderful dance the way that happens, of just asking that question and putting it out there. If they say no, no, unless they say no forever, that's just not right now, you know?
So we actually kind of already touched on stopping the excuse of not knowing any POC, because in this day and age, if you don't know no black and brown people, that's a you problem. The internet is too large. Y'all came to this convention. Look, there's brown people in the audience, not just at the table. Go say hello. We don't bite, I swear. I might, depending on when you catch me. It's the end of the day, and you come at me sideways, you might not like what you get. But I wanted to touch on specifically, because Brian, you mentioned it, like the lists of creating people to follow. Cassie also talked about it, where often, you know, like on the health site known as the Dead Bird, there'd always be, oh my God, you should follow these black creators. I really support them. These people aren't in your inbox, they're not in your email, they're not in your DM, but they stay with a list of people you should follow. Ooh, oh my God, aren't I an ally? Also, if you tell me you're an ally, I'm going to turn into a demon in 4K in front of you, because you don't get to call yourself an ally. Do not do it. But those lists can also be used for nefarious purposes. They can become targets. They can become hit lists. So when you're making a starter pack, when you are making a list of people to follow, what's the action that's going to follow making that list or that starter pack? Are you inviting them to your project? Are you inviting them to your table? And understand that, like CV said, sometimes we have seen how you move, seen how you talk, who you talk to, and it's nobody darker than a brown paper bag. We're gonna be like, can't trust you, cannot deal with you. I don't know that this is a safe place for me. And by safe place, I don't mean in the way people assume we're talking snowflake, etc. I mean, if I, as a black person, as a femme presenting person, as a queer person, am I safe to be the character I want to be at this table? Or am I gonna have someone going, well, I want to be a black bisexual elf. It really doesn't know their place in the world. And I kid you not, I got that question once at Gen Con by a dude that wanted to literally do that at a panel like this. So keep in mind, what is the action beyond making a list? Because a list is empty. All words are empty without an action to follow it. Because I really want to spend a lot of time on our last 2 bullet points. Because this is something that a lot of us will get in response to saying diversify. I don't want to tokenize, but it's not though. So I know you have thoughts, and Lamia brought up the last bullet points. I want to spend a little more time before Q&A really focusing on these 2 bullet points. So I'm going to start with you, Eugenio. Sure. What are your thoughts?
It's hard because, we do talk a lot about the problem of the token, right? And it is, that is a line that is more about intentions for me, right? And effort rather than numbers. You should have more than one person of color, right, in your orbit. But for me, when I think about tokenization and being the only person of color, being the only queer person, whatever it is, and again, we're talking here about public-facing, actual plays, streams, YouTube.
Things you're trying to make money off of, or market, or monetize. Things that are that want to front-face visual.
Right.
If it's a home game.
I mean, listen, we'll have a conversation about that. That isn't for today, right? So when we're talking about, in that context, right, when we're thinking about tokenization and your work, I don't want to do this, I want to make sure that I am being inclusive in this show. For me, what I want to talk about is encouraging the non-marginalized folks around you to also help you, to get the call out if they raise concern. I'm going to tell a story, I'm going to redact names to protect the innocent, but if you, no, I am.
Wait.
I can tell y'all who they are later, but okay. For right now, this story, I will be redacting names to protect the innocent. I have seen situations where folks are spinning up shows and putting together their casts, and as the cast is coming together, it's looking pretty homogenous, and we've added another, and it still looks pretty homogenous, and then there's one spot left, and we've chosen a white person to join, and that person then went to this producer and said, hey, I notice that this is a pretty homogenous looking cast, and I'm not entirely comfortable with that. Is there a way that we can add another player? Is there something we can do? And this person I'm going to call them an ally, because as an outside observer, they did an action. And that action was saying, if my place needs to go to a person of color, to someone who brings a little bit more diversity to this table, then so be it, but I really want to address this with you. Radio silence response, they were replaced by another white person. That's not how you do it, folks. And I have to say, this is a group that is still presenting and that has gotten some attention, and I just can't go anywhere near them, and I will never encourage anyone to, because that's how a white person who addressed this with the white producer, that's how that went down. It's not acceptable, right? We are doing what we can do here, chatting, out there, interacting with you all, but y'all gotta do it too. You've gotta hold each other accountable here, right? And in that case, right, there was some argument about, well, if it's one person, then it's gonna be a token this and that. These folks can speak to you more eloquently and intelligently about tokenization. I'm here to say that it's not the excuse you think it is.
So I'm also a part of a group, and I genuinely love this group. And we've had conversations because I ended up joining the cast, and I happen to be the only visible person of color. And something that's important to me to stress is that sometimes we're not asking you to suddenly be like, X, all right, this show that's been going on for X amount of years is suddenly going to stop, and we're going to say it won't come back until we add X, Y, and Z. It's about how you go forward, right? Multiple shows, multiple casts. If I start seeing a pattern start to happen, therein lies the problem, right? It shouldn't just be this one thing happened, but the other show, I don't have to worry about it, right? False. And we're not saying this just because we are saying you need to have people of color. I mean, you do. But it's just like, why not? Again, in 2025, why do you only want to surround yourself with people who look like you, who act like you, who talk like you, right? I feel like we talk about how we all have different cultures and we bring different things to the table, and yet you're surrounding yourself with salt and pepper, right? That you can do so much more. And something that I really enjoyed that what Eugenio just said, in a way, it's not just on us to make sure diversity is at a table. Like, if you are the ally that you claim to be, if you are the accomplice, I'll even say, that you want to be, then it's up to you to have those conversations with the producers being like, hey, this don't look right. Even if it's for a one shot, you see a bunch of individuals who look like you, step up and say, hey, what's happening here? I will step out if I need to, to make sure that there is room at the table. And a lot of people are afraid to do that because they think it's going to stop their own back. And in some way, shape, or form, I understand it. It's hard out here. But it's like, if you are not doing the work and you're putting all of that work on us, all that effort on us, nothing's changing, right? Because people are barely listening to us, right? So we just encourage you to really think about that. Like, when you see something, say something, right? I think that's just the first step. It's be willing to have that conversation, even if it doesn't go the way that you think it's going to go. Because if it doesn't go that way, then you know that you have avoided a problem, you've avoided someone who you probably don't want to work with in the future, A lot of people reveal themselves in moments like this. Not gonna say names, but very recently, within the last month, I realized someone was not about that sauce. When they announced the cast, and guess what? It was all this. And they got called out saying, hey, what's going on? And they took down the promotion just to re-put up the promotion with the exact same people as if we wouldn't notice. I don't get it. I do not get it. But here we are. There we are. It's odd. It's our life.
Wow. I love how we all have, look, after this, there's going to be some tea. We are going to share.
Yeah.
But yeah, to think about the word, to talk about tokenization being an excuse, if you flip that and move it to, if you think that inviting, essentially any kind of diverse cast member feels like tokenization, then in your mind, think about it as, okay, what are you going to move to then move towards representation? You know, there is, Quincy mentioned like looking at, popular culture and TV shows, and I think like there is a middle ground between the cast of Friends and the cast of Living Single. You know, like you don't, it's, look, I'm obviously more Living Single, check it out. But there is a difference, and thankfully even now popular culture is getting it. So if you turn on your TV, you're gonna see a lot of different type of people in the same production, in the same show. And if you are putting forth any kind of actual play, podcast, stage show, live show, you want to reach the most number of interested people. You want them to find something that feels good to them in your show, in that cast. And especially in like TTRPG and gaming, where marginalized people have typically been on the margins, you want more people to be like, oh hey, like I can get into this. I can finally feel like maybe I watched this show and I belong in this space and I have a good time.
And hot take, unpopular opinion. Have your white table. Go ahead, do it. But that does not isolate you from consequences of doing it. No one owes you compliments, a platform, or recognition for the work you decided not to do. If you have the self-insight to say, well, but if we add a person of color, it's gonna be tokenizing and I don't wanna be bad. Okay, cool, congrats. I'm so happy that you know that you're being racist. Go with that, babes. If you know there's a problem, it's on you to address it. If you don't want to address it, yeah, I agree. Don't bring me into your mess. I've done it enough, and especially if you're not paying me for it, yeah. Have your all-white table. Have your appropriation game. Have that. But best believe you also got to take the smoke. Because at some point, and I've done consultations with therapy practices where I straight out told them, do not hire a person of color. You don't have the infrastructure to support them. You're gonna traumatize them. And I will put my money where my mouth is in games as well. If you can't support us, if you can't handle that, you can't have a game that has no racism and it never existed, but it's set in the modern United States and there's hip hop and there's blues and your all white characters' favorite stuff is soul food and they speak in AAVE, but you call it internet language, then guess what? That's not inclusion. That's not representation. That's erasure. That's straight up erasure. At some point, we have to take the white supremacy culture nice over justice and yeet that shit out the window so that we can acknowledge that if you want the culture in your games, you have to understand that you don't get there without those things you're afraid to talk about. You don't get there without that history you don't want to learn in your schools. You don't get there without the trauma you want to ignore and blame the repercussions for on the victims. And so, if you can't do it, be honest. I respect honesty. I'm still gonna drag you. We're still gonna know who you are, but like, I do appreciate the honesty. Mm-hmm. So if you're gonna have your all white tables and that's gonna be your thing and you're gonna keep doing it, please be honest, stand 10 toes down so that we can drag you.
And I'm gonna add something. Listen, we're on unpopular opinions time, so my brain has activated. Because my favorite thing is when I see an all-white table and then I say, hey, this all-white table is kind of suspicious, what's going on? And they respond, and I quote, but we're all queer.
Oh my God! You cannot. Okay.
You've advocated long.
One at a time.
Sorry. One at a time.
It makes me like innate spiritually annoyed, mad even, because it's the idea that you can, and especially in this day and age where people are blank, 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 and they want to make sure that the world knows this, and I totally get it. You know, rep your marginalizations. Woo, I got too many of them to name as well. However, that does not absolve you from not allowing people of color at that table. Because just in case you didn't know, queer people of color exist.
What?
You know? Neurodivergent people of color exist. Even if doctors don't want to, diagnose us as such. You know, we're just savages to them. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Okay, hold on. All right, I'm reeling you all back in. Come back, walk with me back to the topic of the panel.
Yeah, right. Tokenization.
Yes,
Still.
tokenization.
All right, tokenization. I'm going to say this, and then we're going to hit our final point, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Let's all take a moment. Drink your water. That's the audience too. If you have water, please drink. I'm turning into stream person. Let's take a 2-second break. Hydrate. But as Brian was talking, I was thinking about Rivals of Waterdeep, where I got the chance to be with Eugenio and Brian on Rivals, which accidentally turned out to be an all people of color cast. We were not set out to be that. Our goal in being set up for Rivals was to teach people anyone can learn D&D 5e. It just worked out that we were all brown folks, and we were all at various levels of understanding and knowing D&D. But can I tell you how empowering it is to come to a con and get a chance to do Rivals Live here at PAX at C2E2 a few years ago, and have people come up and go, because I saw you, I know that I belong, that I can have a place that I too can do this. And this doesn't mean everybody should run out and go make an AP, because I'm gonna keep it a buck. Some people do not have the skill set to do it, and that's not saying you don't know how to play D&D or whatever game. Running a show is a whole different thing, and if they ever take that panel, we will explain it to you. But also, the idea of tokenization is, as CB said, there'll be the all A4 crew, and they'll be like, but we're queer, and there'll be one white chick with rainbow hair. Tell me I'm wrong. And so you have to remember that again, kind of collating all of our points so far, is that think about why you want someone. So I know if I want to do horror, I'm gonna give Cassie a call. If I want to do something that is emotional, if I want to do something where we all know the IP, I'm going to call on folks here. And that's the same thing that all white production should be doing. It's not a matter of I want one brown face, I want one whatever, or one queer person. And if you try to roll it up into one person of queer, brown, femme presenting, you are not getting a 3-for-1 bargain. You are getting multiple talents in one person. But I do want to also keep us on task. And
But real quick,
yes.
honey, with that,
Quincy, I'm timing.
No, you're so fine. You're so fine. I will keep it very, very brief. It's about boiling it down with all the wonderful examples. It's all about your intention, and this is for, again, a commercialized product you're putting out there. APs, stream shows. It's like, what is your intention with it? Do you want to make a bunch of money? Make a bunch of money. Rising tides raise all ships, though. And if you want a lot of people to see your product, and you want a lot of people to see your show and invest with what you have a colorful cast, because you'll have a lot of people who want to see themselves in that. And you want to have a lot of people who see what they go through amongst the people that are sitting at that table. Like, oh wow, they're doing this really cool thing online, I can too. And if you're someone who is not necessarily maybe feeling invited to tables like that, that is your chance to do it yourself. Heck it, I'm gonna do it. And intention, if you're worried about the tokenization, you're worried about the opinions of the people who are going to put that on you. That's if your intention is to tell a story with a diverse cast, the people who are going to call you, hey, you're tokenizing, are the people who wouldn't invite people to their table anyway, So don't worry about their thoughts. Don't worry about those opinions. They're probably not going to watch your show anyway. But you want the people that want community to be there anyway, so you bring the community along.
Yeah, because when we did Motherlands, there were some people, where's the white people? I don't know, it's not Earth. Go find somewhere to be. Or if I'm white, can I play this game? I was like, you got $60? I will take your money. And again, thanks to everyone. Unfortunately, I did not know Quincy when we were making Motherlands, or he'd be in on it too. But we all were involved in making Into the Motherlands. One day it will come out, I guess. I don't know. Life is life.
It
Look,
will.
I know. I'm just, yeah. Never mind. Last bullet point before we go to Q&A, and Cassie, if you want to start this off, because that was your point of being aware of the difference of appreciating an IP and other cultures versus appropriation.
Yeah, so there's a really big phenomenon movie happening right now called K-pop Demon Hunters. And it's super nice that you want to make a game or a module or what have you about something. When Black Panther came out and like with Sinners and things, I am so happy that you love that media and that you are looking at stuff from other cultures. And there are aspects of some of this media that is closed culture practice. When you look at Annie from Sinners and she is practicing hoodoo and Ifa, that's not yours. And taking that and applying it into a game is not appreciation. These practices have stayed closed for a reason, and they have protocols, initiations, learning that you have to do, whether it is South Korea or whether it is West Africa or anywhere else, indigenous America, what have you. If you like the concept, there are things that you can pull without being appropriative. So using the weapons and like everything of the Mudang, like that's not yours. People who do practice those things have asked that you not. The idea of culture using music to ward off evil, that's more universal. You can find that in a lot of cultures. Find where it's in the stuff you do have permission to use or that is yours in your heritage, and do it that way. Then you can be inspired by. Don't have an all-white tabletop game with a nonsense Japanese word that they ask you not to do the first time and then you're doing another one and still have the same all-white issues. If you want to appreciate someone, you gotta talk to people. You have to figure out what that looks like. You probably need us working on your stuff. If I see you doing Ifa stuff and you have not talked to a priest, you have not talked to a practitioner at all, no one who's doing that, again, I have questions. And the consequences are yours to own. To appreciate something, you have to actually listen to what people are saying. Now, there are cultural things that folks have been like, nah, fam, please. Use it, take it, go for it. That's not actually a closed practice. K-pop, as a music, pulls from multiple influences and things. That's not closed. The spiritual aspects are, right? Like the jazz and blues in the South and in that period isn't necessarily closed. Hoodoo and Ifa and Orisha spiritualities definitely are. So be conscious of what you're doing. And if you're like, I love this thing, I, a person not of this culture, am the one to bring it forward, please pump your brakes, look at why you think that, and then go pay a consultant to talk you through this and possibly help you transform your game or your media of whatever kind into something that is more appreciative than it is appropriative.
It's also one of those things where it's like, you don't need to take this specific thing. You have an idea, you don't have to go, it's this. Case in point, big example, and it was really heightened because of Until Dawn, the Wendigo. The Wendigo is very indigenous and very much not just this thing that's this big monster, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you want the scary monster who, it hides in the woods, et cetera, you can do that without calling it a Wendigo, because it's not that, right? If you want some type of rain dance, which again, very indigenous, you don't need to go there. You can have a storm giant, flood a village, and the village has to learn to appreciate the rain at that point, right? You can do the thing without appropriating the culture. You can do the thing and be inspired by without just plucking this idea and putting it into your game very easily. We are fantastical storytellers. Create the story. You don't need to steal it, right? It's honestly that simple. And the fact that we still go through this appropriation, it makes me wonder, are you actually storytellers, or are you just copywriters? It's like, I want us to really think about why, intention, as Quincy said, and it honestly always comes back to that. What is the intention of what you're trying to play? K-pop Demon Hunters, do you need to be a K-pop demon? Do you need to go into this very closed practice? Or what about this is inspiring you? Take that, and again, don't take the things that are very much closed and very specific to this culture. Take the ideas around it, formulate a new story that respects and celebrates, but doesn't just flat out one-for-one steals or appropriates. Stories have grown throughout generations, and they all lead to something, right? So it's not like that's the problem in creating something new. Just create something new and still respect what came before.
Right, before the next person comments, I want to invite folks to come up to the mic, and wow, I just felt like I was doing a sermon. Please come to the altar with your question.
We'll have the offerings come through, the buckets will pass through around.
Look, the little envelope is under your seat. So yes, but if you do have questions, again, concise, accurate, relevant questions. Come up to the mic while we kind of wrap up our last thoughts on this bullet point, and then we will get to your question. Yeah, no, go ahead. I'm just inviting people to come up to the mic for questions.
I guess really to bring in a lot of things that have been said about is your group prepared to handle inviting diverse cast members? Do you want to appreciate other cultures versus appropriate them? What is your intent? And realizing that every game out there, especially the more popular ones, are not suited to tell every story. There are people within these cultures who have written different stories, different systems, different things that are much more suited to maybe the story you want to tell. And they have already said, okay, this is off limits. Here's a way to perhaps approach talking about something that's off limits, but also keep it respectful and appreciate this culture, versus just trying to again, how do I build a K-pop Demon Hunters adventure for D&D? You don't. You can, obviously, but is it really going to find the best things about that culture and appreciate it? Or should you find somebody who has already written a system that sort of follows that, that kind of story, that kind of spirituality, and combines it into that? Those things already exist. And if you are going to do that, and I'm just going to say, if you're going to do that and be an all-white table, don't. You need to invite more people. You need to invite people who are aware of the culture, who can respect it, and who can, either gently hold your hand and tell you you're doing it wrong, or be more aggressive about it and say, stop it.
They say to be a good storyteller, you need to listen to a lot of stories, and you need to listen to a lot of different stories from a lot of different storytellers. If you want to be a good writer, you need to be a good reader. And if you want to be a good person who tells good stories, you have a bunch of that. And I think one of the nice things and one of the beautiful things about it is when you have people who tell stories different from you at your table, you learn and grow, and you are inspired by that. And what a better way to be better at your craft than to find someone who looks at the same dragon and is like, oh, I can do this instead, or I can do this instead, or we go back, we pause, figure out something else, and then come back to the dragon, or change the dragon into a turkey, I don't know. But like you learn and grow with that when you have a variety, but when you have a variety, you do have the responsibility of caretaking for that variety, especially when you're the host. When you're the host, when you come to my table, I'm inviting you and I'm taking on the responsibility with you to make sure that you feel represented and that you feel that you have the platform and spotlight to share your story. And a lot of times when you have a table of, you know, when it's a table of all the people that you know and you haven't put effort into diversifying it, it's a very easy table. You don't have to think about it. You can turn your brain off. It's not as mentally taxing, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, but when you put something out there for everybody, you want to take on that responsibility to lift that up even more, and that will come with understanding, why is that inappropriate? Tell me why. Okay, cool. Can we make this appropriate and still like respectful for you, but fun? How do you want to do this? I love it. Let's go. And it brings that conversation into your tale to just make it so much that when someone watches that, who can relate to that specific character or actor, they're like, you got it, absolutely. Here's my money, or here's my retweet, or here's my applause, because you connected with the person. And that again goes back to your intention. But if your intention is to tell a good story, you will take care of your storytellers. If your intention is to make money, $2 is still money, you know? But what impact do you want to have after the fact?
I just want to say that hearing everything we've talked about today, what strikes me is making an AP, making a stream, doing a YouTube video, all of these things is hard work. It's a lot of work. I've done a lot of different facets of it. I've been on the stream, I produced the stream, edited, all of the things, right? It's hard work. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. For me, everything that we are saying here is just part of that. You're putting the effort to build your world. You're putting the effort to build your story. You're putting the effort to produce to make the overlay and pay the art and do the casting is a part of that, right? Your casting is a piece of that, and you have to work at that. And so do the work like you are with the rest of it. It really, in a lot of ways, I understand there are nuances. You don't want to screw up. You don't want to. I get all of that, right? But in the end, I think you kind of know, right? At least where to go for the answers that you're seeking. You just have to be willing to do it. And it will be hard work sometimes, and it will be uncomfortable sometimes. Okay?
But I love
You're
that. choosing
to do this thing that is already hard work, right? I didn't use it. So let this be a part of it, right? Or don't, and then that's your choice. And as we've said, like, okay, bye.
But what a blessing it is to be tired. Think of it that way. What a blessing it is to work hard on something you really want to do and to make something beautiful. I'm exhausted. It is November. We got so much coming on. It's holiday season. I'm exhausted. And sometimes I want to give up and I want to take a break. But what a blessing it is to be tired doing the thing you really wanted to do, really wanted to put out there, and really want to cultivate with a community and tell something passionate. Going to bed exhausted after that is a reward.
Yeah.
And look at it that way. It's so good.
My one last thought was a couple of years ago, I found myself in a situation where I was working for a company that needed a fast and intensive anti-racist training pretty badly. And so the whole company, the whole staff spent 3 very intensive days working with the company out of New York. They were the company that we worked with, the consultants that we worked with were amazing. We all learned a lot, and one of the things that I learned from that has really stuck with me is one of the modules we did was a list of all of the things that are so often part of American capitalism in general, that have roots in white supremacy, in racism, in that history. And a lot of them were things that I wouldn't have thought of. And we don't have time for me to sort of go through all of this, but the thing that stuck with me the most is that time pressure, hurry, inflexible schedules are in many ways an old tool of white supremacy. If you are worried that you have to have your cast, and I haven't found my person of color, and we go live next week, don't go live next week. Why do you really interrogate? Why do I have to do this thing on this schedule? And in the years since then, I've found a lot of instances where the answer is simply, I don't. Sometimes you do, okay. But think about that sort of thing. Why am I feeling this pressure in this way, and how can I relieve it? A little more space will make what, as I've said, what is a difficult thing a little easier.
Hey, we have a question.
Advanced question.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
All right, let's do it.
What are your tips as fellow creators of color when you are having all people of color tables, but you're dealing with the anxiety of your white counterparts leaving you behind in the dust?
I'm gonna use our one F-bomb. Fuck them people. This isn't a competition. We can all eat, but we don't have to eat at the same table. Also, literally, I'm not out here competing with white folks. I don't care what y'all go do. I am not worried about, it makes me think of streaming and content creation. I have friends where we can stream literally the same game. They will have 400 people, I'll have 60. Cool, I'm glad that their audience showed up for them. It is not a competition. Because if you go into this thinking, well, I can't keep up with white folks, you ain't never gonna get anywhere. Do not go into this as a thought of, well, I'm not keeping up with the Joneses, AKA the white folks. Because we had all people of color tables. We got to do, Black Dice Society was mostly mostly people of color. And here's the thing, we didn't get the same grief and stress that Rivals did. Partially because of who else was on screen, or people don't know the folks are actually people of color. But at the end of the day, we have the privilege, have the joy of an all black, all brown, all queer table. That is more important to me than anything any white person could be doing with their show. I literally do not care.
Just really quickly, I'm so sorry, because this is such a very important topic. When we look at like these other people who have like hundreds, 200 people in their stream, you have 30. Guess what? Those 100 and 200 people were never going to be in your stream. And I say that with so much respect. Like, care about your community and the people who are showing up for you. Stop pining over the people who are never going to come see you, right? Because if they were going to be there, they would be there, right? And obviously we want to grow our community, but again, don't think about it in a competition type of sense. Because the minute you start getting into a mindset of I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to beat this person, you've already lost. We're grateful to be tired. And we're tired with the 30 people that are in our stream enjoying our show. Enjoy it.
Thanks, chat.
And the other thing I want to say here too is the other side of this is like, hey chat, all those people of color you put on that starter pack, where are you? Don't view it as competition, because again, why? Just like what you like, let it slow down, let it do what it do your work. And from the audience side, we're also all up here. Folks are asking questions like this because what happens is everyone's like, we support you, I'm an ally. And then they don't show up. They don't show up in the simple ways online, and they definitely don't show up to the vigils and the marches and the phone banking and these other things. And so as a creator, no, you can't view it as a contest. And we know what it is. We know these histories, we know the academics of the whole thing. And so yeah, you might have less, but I love what I do. I love woke mental wellness. I love my podcast, and I love what I've done with it. I think it's great, and it's a resource. And yeah, no, I'm not going to get the same kinds of attention and views necessarily, regardless of doing it longer or whatever, as white counterparts or folks that are doing weird stuff. And that's okay.
Comparison's the first thief of joy, right? And those that would be worried about who is on and who is not on your table, as long as you are happy and you have a diverse crowd and you have a good story, that's all that matters.
Yes.
Their opinions are not, again, if they don't feed you, fuck you, or pay your bills, their opinion doesn't matter.
There's only supposed to be one.
There was a J in there. It's fine.
There was a silent E, I think, maybe. If they're not gonna support you anyway, their opinion does not matter.
Yeah.
But as long as you did your best, you did your due diligence, you did your respect, it doesn't matter. You'll do fine.
Thank you.
Well, looks like that'll be our last question, unless anybody else wants to get up. So yes, what is your question?
Hi. So the barriers that I'm facing are the algorithms online, the location in which I live, the
And your
difficulty making friends as adults. What advice do you have for me to get past those barriers?
First, I empathize. I understand. Making friends is hard, especially as an adult. It was a lot easier in college, a lot easier in high school because we have the terrible and blessing of proximity. And that's why you have relationships and friends you just force together by locality. Effort happens by showing up. Making friends happens by showing up. Local game store, I'm starting to know the names of the people that I'm gonna play games with. I'm starting to. But that's because it's consistently showing up. Showing up to other people. If there's someone that you want to be a part of, that you want to invite into your game, if they have a stream or if they have a way that that you can contact them or interact with them, show up, be present. I have people in my chat that I don't really talk to on a daily basis, but they do charity streams, and they're like, "Hey Quincy, are you available at this date?" I said, tentatively. Thank you for inviting me. I will make time. If I am, I will let you know. But they show up. They show up, and it's not even that they support me or pay money. They're just like, "Hey, we're doing this thing. We'd love to have you available. Are you available?" Again, you're willing to ask any question, but receive any answer. And making friends and making those connections comes by just being present. You can't be present all the time behind a screen, but that is it can be a very good way to start.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I started getting to know people and sort of entering in this community, in this industry, by doing a lot of what they've just said, right? I was online, I think my first introduction to, actually some people who are in this room, was years and years and years ago when D&D was doing a special event at Meltdown Comics, and I was watching it and I thought, I have a Twitter account, I shall live tweet my thoughts because everyone should hear them, which was objectively not true. But and people responded, they liked, they posted, and I interacted with them with no ulterior motive, with no intention of getting something, even with really no intention of building relationships, just sort of letting that happen. It's a slower process. It's a little harder when, for me, sort of the older we get, when we see the things that we want and the way that we want them, and so it's easy to sort of forget yourself and go into a situation with that sort of end goal and transaction in mind. But like they've said, really showing up and knowing that it may take a while, it is harder when we're older. It is harder when we're adults. It is harder when we have various marginalizations, right? It is harder when the algorithm doesn't help us. But you can do it if you just continue to show up. The wonderful thing about the algorithm or the algorithmless blue sky or whatever it is that yeah, we aren't going to be forced into those relationships like we were in school, but there are so many more people out there, and when we do find the people, it'll be because they fit. So, I think we all sympathize, and it does take time, and it is hard, but you do it. Thanks.
Since we only have 2 minutes left, actually find us after the panel. We're going to go out in the hallway. No, we want to hear your question. We only have less than 2 minutes. So thank you, everyone, for paneling. I appreciate all of you. And then quickly, starting with Brian at the end, where else can we find you? Because I know Brian and Eugenio will literally be next door in a minute 30.
Yeah, I'm about to drop a smoke bomb and ninja vanish next door. So hi, I'm Brian, Urban Bohemian. You can find me around PAX, but more importantly, you can find me in a few minutes next door. Eugenio and I will be on a panel with some other awesome people about, so your friends have suckered you into running a game, what now?
Hi, I'm Lamia. I will be disappearing all the way across the con to the intersection. So you can find me at Intersection CCH on Blue Sky and Black Sky, Intersections LLC on Instagram and other places. If you find those places and go look at my to-do, you will see me For accountability, rated E for everyone at 6 o'clock in Crab God. And then at 9 o'clock again for Mischief for Date or Do Battle. Come for the sexy fun at 9. And then tomorrow I will be also panel Don't Kill My Vibe. I think that one's in Crab God as well. And then you can come find me in the intersection. I have cards and things. So if you want the cards, if you want to find me that way. Also, if you want to hire me as a consultant and stuff, my 2026 has space. So come talk to me. Yeah, I think that's it.
My name is Quincy of Quincy's Tavern. I'll be at the Catalyst Game Labs booth testing out my new board game that is available for sale right now, Guardians of the Four Winds. I'd love to play it with you. I'll be there from 1 to 3 today and tomorrow, but I'll see you online. Be safe.
Tomorrow, 11:30, Himbo's meet and greet. That's it. Bye. I'm like,
I'll be next.
I know.
I'll be next door for the next hour. Tomorrow from 3:30 to 5, I'll be down at the Take This Hope booth if you want to come by and say hi and spin our little prize wheel. You can find me on Blue Sky at DM Jazzy Hands, or check out Take This on Blue Sky at takethis.org.
And I have nothing else after this. I'm going to go roam free with some commander decks in my bag.
Have a great PAXU fun, everybody. Thank you for being here. Good night.